Welcome to Social Proof, a podcast about influence with Soapbox. I'm Beth, and I'm here with Shar.
Hey, guys.
And our guest is Sarah. We're so excited you're here. Sarah Steele.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. We're excited about it. I feel like half of the guests that we wrangle onto this show are individuals we've been fortunate to know for quite a while, so they're not new to Soapbox. And I'm just really excited for people to hear your stories. So talk a little bit about who you are by day and then who you are lately on the side by night.
Sure. I know it sounds complicated. By day, I am a shopper and digital commerce marketing manager for a manufacturer in the CPG space. By night,
Very fancy.
Very fancy. It's a very legit title for doing marketing for brands that sell to major retailers. And by night, I am, as of late, an influencer, if you will, in the TikTok and Instagram space, talking about what it means to be a modern working millennial woman in today's day and age. And then by 24/7, I am also a full-time mom. I have two kids that are 3.5 and 1.5. So it's a hot mess over here.
Wow.
Completely untrue. You manage it beautifully.
I'm like managing
Thank you.
myself. I'm like,
Shar's
whoa.
like, wow. So I think it's really interesting. I noticed you're still kind of adjusting even to the word influencer applied to yourself. Right?
I am.
So this is still new. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I downloaded TikTok in November of 2019,
Okay.
almost to prove a point at work that no, our brand did not belong on TikTok with 19-year-olds dancing to popular songs. I was convinced that it was not the right place to be. And I was quickly proved wrong. I decided to become an active user of TikTok when quarantine started in March of 2020. And after a week or two, I realized there are a lot of other people that are just like me on this app. And while I still didn't know that it was the right place for what I was doing at work, the right platform, I said to myself, hey, I think I have an opportunity to start talking about what it means to be a mom struggling right now, managing a job, managing kids, trying to find meaningful time with my husband in this weird world where we're stuck at home 24/7 and trying to find a new sense of who we are in this new world. And so I just started talking about it. And at first I was just doing what everyone else was doing and just doing lip dubs and silly dances just to kind of pass time. And then when I started to really get real about what I was experiencing, a lot of followers just started coming in, and it really took off maybe fall of last year. And to your point, I'm still adjusting to it. It's weird to me when someone sends me a video of myself. I almost cringe a little. I'm like, oh, you saw that? Okay. But at the same time, I'm like glad that I'm reaching a lot of people. So it's this weird sense of wanting to promote myself more and still not being super happy when other people see it.
Yes.
Right.
I love how TikTok, I'm like you, I hadn't downloaded it, and then I think it was quarantine that was like, oh, okay, I'll give it a try.
Right.
And I think it was because we had started working with brands that were doing it, and it was like, okay, let's look into this. But I love that it's like this older generation has come in and bombarded the generation. No, I know. That's me
Dagger
too.
to the heart.
I'm calling myself old.
Okay.
Please, no. No, because they're saying like millennials and above, because
Right.
really it's the younger generations that have been on there for years.
Yeah.
And we come in and we're like, ooh, we're going to make this. Yeah. We're like, but it's cool how you can just become viral so quickly on TikTok.
Yeah, the way that the algorithm on TikTok works is just so unique and different from other platforms that it's giving people who have a great story to tell the opportunity to get in front of a lot of people, where in other platforms, people might build their content and their following over years and still not be at that level,
Yeah.
which is great.
So you're the corporate mama.
I am.
Is the
I love
account. Yes. And that's not a new concept for you, as I recall, based on knowing you for a while. You've dabbled with this idea of, I don't know if you would even call it work-life balance, right? So maybe speak to that a little bit. What is the platform and the gist of it?
Sure. So the corporate mama really exists just to tell it like it is for me and hope to bring value to other working moms, knowing that every working mom has a different story and a different experience than I do. And it may just be young women who one day are thinking about having kids and are nervous that they can't do both, down to a mom of a kid in high school who has been struggling with this for years and is debating, do I want to stay in the workforce now that I'm going to be an empty nester soon? Or what is my identity as a corporate working mom if my child is a different age than someone else? So how can I bring value to all of these different kinds of working women? And it's really to kind of crush the idea of work-life balance, because I don't think that it exists.
Right. Amen.
And I grew up with a working mom, and toward the later years of teenhood for me, a stay-at-home dad, which is really different than a lot of other people's experience. And I think the idea of work-life balance, if you are striving to achieve that, you're not going to set yourself up for success. So for me, it's, what am I willing to prioritize that day? Right. And it's going to change by the day and by the week. And, you know, even by the year sometimes. I look at it as it's never going to be 50-50. And I try to give myself this sliding scale of, okay, if I'm at 25-75, that's not great for me. If I'm at 75-25, it's not great. Right. And it just gives me kind of a gut check of, okay, where am I at? And how can I be honest with the people who are following me to share that, hey, I'm struggling with this right now. Yeah. Work is suffering. Or, hey, I've been killing it at work. Right. But at what expense? and I think it just helps to see other women acknowledge that they are struggling with that, because I would get down on myself if I would see these really successful female founders talk about how they're up at 5 a.m. doing yoga and this and this, and then it just all comes together in this beautiful fruition.
It's just unicorns and rainbows.
Exactly. And I'm like, where's the mom who's telling me that she showed up to a Zoom late and that her kid is screaming about going potty in the background, and that she's up trying to make her own side business work at night and hold it all together and get enough sleep? Like, where is she?
Right.
And
like maybe eat
everywhere.
Yeah, and also she likes a glass of wine every now and then. Like, where is she?
Cheers to that.
And then I decided, well, if I can't find her, then I'll just be her. Right. So,
well, you've just brought this awesome self-deprecating lens. I mean, I love your spin and your sense of humor. And I think my favorite of your TikToks is the kind of couples at the beginning of quarantine and then, you know, several months in, I think it is, where it's just so great to see you and have lunch together, and then it's just, that's what do you want?
Yeah, like you again.
So relatable.
You're still here.
Still you, still there.
Like, and don't you want a little bit of mystery, like where you're at, what you're doing?
No, you're just right there. Okay. So how has that been for your husband as you've taken on yet this other, right? Here's the day job, and here's the, you know, parenting.
So he is my biggest supporter, but he's also like my biggest troll because he thinks it's hilarious. So he would religiously watch this content that I was posting and encourage me to keep making it. And he's actually someone that at the beginning said, hey, if you really believe in this, why are you nervous for people to find your TikTok? Why don't you share it? Put it on your Instagram. Tell people about it. And I was terrified. Right. But he would give me so much grief about it that he said he would actually become a legitimate follower if I got to 100,000. So he would watch them religiously but not follow me. So he used it as this kind of weird carrot.
He gave it to you.
He did. Yes. He's like, okay, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to support you, but I'll follow you once you tell
when
people about it.
And
you're a big deal. Exactly. And so when it happened, he was like, well, the deal's a deal. Yeah. And then even from that was just in December, and I'm now at 160-ish. So it's
and you just today said that you had your first sponsored campaign.
I did my first sponsored post today.
How did that feel?
Tell us about it.
It was good. I got an email from this brand who is building a tool to help parents prepare for parenthood. So if they're expecting, what is the cost for you in terms of your professional career, actual costs in terms of expenses, and also what does it mean for your relationship at home? All of which I had great experience in, all of which I already talk about. So the stars really aligned, and it's a tool called Mirza. But they reached out and asked if I would be willing to partner and share information about that. And it was kind of a reality check for me that, hey, I can actually find partners to help me tell this story and enable me to do more of this work, which was really cool. So I'm excited to see where it continues to go from here. And now I do feel a little bit more legitimate in that influencer claim of like, hey, this is a marketable platform for me that I can leverage.
I love hearing you talk about that because obviously you've known us for a while and kind of know how we're wired and what we do at Soapbox. And, we have this community of 7,000 influencers but across the U.S., but we're always very quick to point out, they're not celebrities. They're everyday, like slightly aspirational, like you can see yourself in their shoes because you live like them or parent like them or shop like them, or they feel relatable, but maybe they're a little further down the road than you are. And we really push our influencers to, stay tuned in to who they are and remember their why and not get caught up in the, you've got to say yes to every partnership. So how are you navigating that? Because suddenly you just had this sort of reveal in December where you went public and now things are coming your way. So talk about that.
They are, yeah. So I finally shared on all of my other social platforms in December that, hey, surprise, I'm doing this. And it's actually gotten quite big, and I'm going to start talking about it here too, to complete and total support.
Yes.
I haven't heard a single negative thing, which is great. And my fears now seem silly. Everyone has been so supportive, but with that has also come brand opportunities, and I have had to sit down and decide, okay, what am I willing to represent? What am I not? Just because it could be monetized doesn't mean that it's right for my brand, and doesn't mean that the people following me will now feel they're being sold to. And I love that Soapbox has always worked with influencers who do feel very relatable and that they truly believe in the products that they're helping tell stories for. And I wanted to make sure that I was doing the same thing. So I've gotten opportunities to talk about things that just don't really...
didn't feel right.
They don't feel right for me. And then I've also gotten opportunities like the one today that feel like, okay, this is right in line with who I am and what I want to stand for. So I don't have, representation or an agent helping me manage through all of this. So a lot of it has just been a learning curve for me too of, okay, does this seem weird? Does this seem legit? Does this seem like something that down the road I want to continue to try to build? Or is this a quick hit and I'm one of 1,000 people talking about this on the same day? So it's been interesting to see the approach different brands take to working with influencers and those that really seem just genuine and want to get to know you as a person and see if it's a mutual fit too.
I love that. I have another question along those lines, and then I promise I always do this to Shar. I hit like 20 questions, and then I'm like, sorry, did you have anything?
Stacking in my brain. No.
Exactly. No, it actually works. It's kind of fun. But I think you know this, Sarah. I shared it with you as we were building the Social Proof podcast. You kept coming to my mind because... you as marketers.
She did say that.
It's true. Yes. As marketers, we develop personas, right? Particularly shopper marketing. Like we think about Jane, the shopper who uses Jane, by the way, who am I? But, she's 42. She has 2 kids. She lives in, the outskirts of Houston, and these are her habits, and this is her lifestyle. And so as I applied that lens to building Social Proof, we kept kind of struggling with, are we talking to influencers? Are we talking to marketers? Are we talking to brands? And I certainly don't want to be all things to all people, but my answer was sort of yes. And I kept coming to you, someone who works in shopper marketing by day and has a personal brand or platform or a side hustle in the social and influence space on the side. Because I think there are a lot of you. My cousin is one. She's at a brand by day. She's built a fitness platform on the side. And they just kept emerging. And it was sort of gratifying as we realized that there are lots of Sarahs out there. So I'm a little bit curious for you, in a way you buy by day what you sell through your platform. So can you talk about that a little bit and how that affects both sides?
Absolutely. So I now have a different lens, I think, with both aspects of that. When I'm at work and hear concepts that bring up the idea of leveraging influencers, I think prior to me having this experience, I had a very one-dimensional view of what that meant. It meant looking at engagement rates, and it meant looking at costs and what other partners these influencers had worked with before. And I now really take a look at that when I work with our PR team or our social teams and looking at a campaign that may involve influencer. I think about, okay, who are they as people? What retailers and products are they already talking about? What kind of audience do they have? What are they doing that helps them tell this story? And who are they as a total package? Whether they have 800 followers or 80,000. Like, what are they doing? Who are they? And that's just a much deeper look than I was taking previously of like, oh, I have a budget. I can either do one person or 5 people. So which one is more important to me right now? And as an influencer, I take a different approach to the content that I'm creating now. It's especially like my example from today, if it's going to be a sponsored content, am I really delivering on the messages that would be important to the brand? But am I also still telling a story that is bringing value to my audience? Because I think sometimes I've been guilty of this as a brand representative of these are my 8 talking points that you need to get into this 30-second or 1-minute thing. Okay, that's going to come off as a sales pitch. So how can I use this part of my brain to know that there are deliverables that need to be met while being authentic to who I am? So it's been this really interesting balance. And I think now when I'm developing briefs and working on projects at work, I think, okay, yes, these are really important to tell, but it's more important that this person takes their own approach to encouraging their audience to consider this product rather than being a salesperson for it.
I love that. I mean, that's just who we are and how we're wired. And as you may or may not know, I think you do, that's how Soapbox came to be. I was working as an influencer myself, and because I had a marketing background, I really felt like if you hire me to work on behalf of your brand, I want to knock it out of the park. And so help me understand what you're trying to accomplish. You're trying to sell items. Okay, now that I know that, I can help you with that in my own approach. And I felt as though a lot of agencies in this space were maybe leaning into those, here are the talking points, it's scripted, like please place this precise statement, and we know that falls short. And I feel like there's a way to balance that integrity of, we should be leaders for the brands we serve and tell them what we think is going to work for them. But we also have to defend our influencers and their, the need to trust them and their ability to storytell and their knowledge of their audience. And so it's really fun and refreshing to hear someone who sees both sides of that equation.
Yeah, and having been on both sides, I think that's why Soapbox is also so reliable in a multitude of communities, whether it's influencers or retailers or manufacturers. You have the reputation that you do because the content that aligns with the campaigns you execute is always nailing it. It's always knocking it out of the park because it's authentic. And people can see that.
To the creators, right? And, how we can kind of be guardians for them. So it's refreshing to hear that.
And you're probably seeing I think we preach it because we also work for it, but it's like influencer marketing has become like billboards, TV commercials, all those different pillars of marketing. Like it's in that now. And so you're probably seeing like, okay, this works. Like I'm having people responding and engaged, and now there's like click to cart where it's like you actually see someone purchase something from you saying something. And so I feel like for all like the haters out there, I want to say like, look, it's working.
It's not influencers in the wild, guys. It's legit.
It's just hilarious. But that's so absolutely true. And you're seeing influencers show up in so many different channels now. There are influencer collaborations with brands that are on the shelf at beauty retailers that literally started as a result of just a social media collaboration, which is so cool to see.
It really is. It really is exciting.
I feel like I have to know, I feel like I struggle with just going to one job during the day.
You do great.
I do great. She's my boss. So, whew.
Mark that for your review later. It's on camera.
But what does your day-to-day look like, and how do you balance, like, okay, I know, from 8 to 10, I'm doing this, that. Like, what does your schedule look like every day?
So true to the content that I share on TikTok, a majority of my day is in meetings, especially in this remote work environment. I am in Zoom or Teams meetings almost all day long, which leaves very little time for engagement with a lot of my social content and even less time at home doing, the stuff that has to get done around the house too.
Dishes,
so
maybe.
Yeah, maybe on a good day. I know. It's sad on the second day when you're like, oh, I meant to do that load 2 times yesterday and today again.
Yes.
Maybe tomorrow. So I'm working on getting up before my kids because my husband is an early bird, but as of late, it's been him coming in and being like, hey, one of the kids is already ready. You got the other one. I've got stuff I have to get started on. So I'm working on getting up earlier so that I can have a clear, clean start to my day. But most of my day in the mornings is spent, I do drop off with the kids, and my husband does pick up, which leaves more of the late afternoon, evening free for me to do things like this or work on TikTok stuff. So I'm in meetings and working and doing emails, and then I try to take my lunch break or maybe 2 15-minute breaks throughout the day where I can check in on social content, respond to emails with the corporate mama, and start to make a game plan for myself for after work, which is usually between 5:30 to 7:30 is kids and chaos and dinner and trying to clean and and breaking up wrestling matches now that the youngest is getting big enough. And then we each take a kid for bedtime, and then
That's so smart.
We try to split it up so where it's pretty even. We're both doing the sucky parts and we're both doing the fun parts.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then maybe 7:30, 8 till bedtime is corporate mama time. It's TikTok and Instagram and emails and really just I have a running notes app in my phone, which is not a legit tool, but it's I have ideas and I just start notes with ideas or something annoying that happened to me that day or something fun that happened that day, and how can I turn this into an experience others can relate with.
So good.
And then I try to shut it off and watch a movie or watch a show with my husband and talk about the day, or just go to sleep, just depending on the day.
Maybe just turn everything off and have that glass of wine.
So I'm trying to get better about making space for myself to relax and just think and not feel like I have to be putting something out because there was a trend that day. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because at first I think I was really getting caught up in this like, well, are my metrics going to keep growing? Are they going to keep meeting these numbers? Is my growth going to keep happening at this rate? And then I had a kind of a talk with myself of,
that's good.
Okay, the growth will come if you continue to put out content you believe in and that people are engaging with. You don't have to do every single trend. You don't have to do every sound that everyone else is doing. Just make it work for what works for you. So take a day off. Don't post for 2-3 days. Just see what happens. That could actually be an interesting test.
Yeah.
And make sure that, you're practicing what you preach of if you don't believe in this work-life balance thing, are your kids feeling the brunt of this now? Are you investing so much time in this social media effort that your kids haven't seen you at night in 3 days? Not cool. Yeah. So I'm trying to really protect that time that they're awake and home and not in school. And I'm mom, not the corporate mama. I'm not busy with work and telling you can't come talk to me. I'm just playing and watching Paw Patrol and building forts and Legos and all of that.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, to your point earlier, it's virtually impossible. There's no such thing as balancing it. So it's literally, just how do you let it ebb and flow a little bit? And I love, not that we're here to be parenting and life coaches, but I love that you've just dropped in some very simple, like, you don't have to overthink it. It can be the notes app. It can be splitting up bedtime. It can be just sort of time blocking.
Yeah, and
those are coping mechanisms. Yeah,
and whether it's someone who has kids or someone that is just trying to start a business while they work a 9 to 5, 8 to 7, whatever that real day job looks like, it's just whatever's important to you, even though it feels impossible, carve out things that feel achievable. If it's 5 minutes to work on this, or it's 10 minutes to go do a quick exercise on your phone, if your goal is to start a new workout habit, like just carve out little doable pieces of time and then build it. You don't have to go like 100% immediately out the door.
Exactly. Well, and we're here to help you. See, we're letting you attack TikTok today while having a glass of wine. So it's like this, overlaid.
That's what we do.
You guys are here to serve.
We really are. We really are.
But you really are. It's so, as you're saying that, I'm like, wait, you literally are preaching what we, a culture that we want to have here and that we always try to like have every single day of just like, I got a puppy this week, and I'm finally seeing.
Worked it in already.
I did. Of just like, well, I'm now finally getting. I've seen with working from home this past year, like Beth has like her child coming up to her and saying, and I'm like, I just like haven't really had that.
Yeah.
I'm more distracted by my own thoughts and what I'm doing or wanting to go work out, like, but carving out time, and I'm getting to see that of. I think I sent Beth something at like 10 p.m. last night because I was like, during the day I was caught up, and it's like, it's okay if I'm sending her something at 10, at least I'm doing it, you know, just like giving myself grace with that, and like, just do what you got to do.
That's right.
Yeah, and I think everyone is realizing that in this environment right now, when so many people are still working from home, that hours of operation are different for everyone.
Right.
And some people wake up at 4 a.m. and do stuff, and then they'll schedule emails to come at like, I don't know, 8 o'clock when it works for someone else. But it's not going to be the same for everyone. And I think that will really have great implications for once the world starts to open up again.
Exactly.
What does that mean for flexibility? And what does that mean for allowing people time to pursue their passions that make them happier at work, too?
Right.
So it's a win-win for everyone.
Yes, we believe so much in that. I mean, I think it can seem like lip service, but you know, I feel really, really strongly about building the kind of place I wish I could have worked in my 20s and 30s. I had wonderful jobs, so don't misunderstand that. But I also felt like there was a degree of, you know, this is how we do it. This is when we work, and this is how we work, and this is, you know, going to a kindergarten graduation during the workday is a little bit frowned upon. That's not like we have a job to do. And so I'm probably over the top with this team. Like, it's 5:15. Why are you here? Or could that be addressed later? Or how can I help you? And to your point about the ramifications if the world returns to normal, it seems as though a lot of employers had this fear in the early days of the pandemic, like, well, I'm going to get less out of my people. But I would actually argue, I'm curious your thoughts on this, Sarah, that employers are getting more out of their people because the commute is gone. Yes, they may start a load of laundry or tend to their home, but I think we actually, as workers, have to kind of fight for that, like defend our home life against our tendency to work because the computer's right there or the work is right there. So how have you navigated that? What other boundaries have you put in place to just like keep some sanity and some wellness in this world?
I think that is spot on. And when the pandemic started and quarantine began, and at first when daycare was closed, I didn't really have that option, and I was struggling for probably the first couple of weeks with how am I physically going to do this, because my kids are not old enough that I can put them in a room with a show and check on them in a few hours. Like, it would have been a disaster. So thankfully my manager was super flexible with what I needed and the fact that I couldn't be on calls all day. But as school opened and then we were fortunate enough to be able to send our kids, I did struggle with that at first of, okay, when does work start and when does it end?
When on earth does it end?
Right. Because to your point, I wasn't driving to work. People weren't leaving the office to go grab lunch and then come back. So I had to set time for myself of, okay, I'm going to go take a virtual bar class, or I'm going to do this a couple of days a week. And then if it's safe to do so, maybe go in for a workout once a week when I can. And that means that when 5:30 rolls around, it's okay to shut the computer down. And if there's something urgent, capital U, urgent, I can get back on later and address it. But it did take some practice and some self-restraint to set those boundaries of, you know what, just because I'm awake and I dropped my kids off, it doesn't mean I need to start looking at email and doing that now. I can go get coffee. I can take the time that I need
just
to,
as you would.
Exactly, that I would have done before.
Right.
Yeah.
And I do see some of my coworkers still kind of working to find that balance and that set the boundaries for themselves, because it's it takes a lot of self-restraint, especially if you don't have anything that's necessarily demanding your time. Why wouldn't I just go ahead and get an early start in the day or work on this longer?
So true.
But mental health is so important, and whether for someone that is more of a self-care act of taking a bath, or it's I need to physically remove myself from my desk for 10 minutes just to do nothing. Go flip through a magazine or go sit on the couch and play with my dog. I need to do that just for myself. So I think it's really important that people just listen to that voice. And if they don't feel supported in doing that, have a conversation with someone at work, whether it's their manager or a peer or, you know, HR person, and just say, hey, I'm struggling with this.
Right.
how can you actually help me manage it rather than, here's an email on balance at work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we actually have a Slack channel at Soapbox. It's our Well at Work channel. Because we're a little obsessive, actually, I think.
That's amazing.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's been really neat, don't you think, Shar? Like, during the pandemic, because it's like a water cooler, right? But we're kind of encouraging each other, hey, just a reminder to sit up straight or posture check. Or
And we'll all be on a Zoom call and we're like,
yes, or how's your, and then everyone, all of it. Yeah, and, how are you guys drinking water today? Or we'll drop in kind of hey, guys, I'm going to go for a walk. I'll check back in 30. So I love that it's become this sort of organic little sub-community within our workplace where we are caring for ourselves and caring for one another. It's been cool.
Yeah. I think the funniest thing is when we realize that we haven't talked in a while, and Beth or we'll be like, hey guys, just making sure you're doing well. What have you been doing? or we'll just be real and be like, I think there was a meme that said I got into shape and then back out of shape during this quarantine. And I think we felt, it went in waves, and it was that's okay. And for a while, it was all I can do is just go on walks during the day. Yeah. And that's okay. Now I'm back at it. I'm very sore, but, I think
giving
it's
it a
okay.
platform and a voice, which is what you were talking about. I think instead of feeling like that's a thing that doesn't belong in the workplace, we're kind of placing it right in the middle of the conversation about this project and the, update on this report. And we're saying these things to one another, which I think is what has elevated it and prioritized it among our team. And simple, my gosh.
Yeah, so it's not
a big initiative.
It's not just supported, it's encouraged, which I think is a big thing for companies to realize they need to do, is for your employees to deliver with the caliber that you're expecting right now. You need to be actively encouraging that they're taking care of themselves in whatever form that means for them. And I love that. Yeah. And I'm going to need a link to the Slack channel because I really need someone every day to tell me okay, sit up straight.
I feel like it's my mom watching me or something.
It's been so good. Yeah. And I do feel like, Sarah, to your point, I mean, that's really a huge part of my role is to model it, not model perfection, but model that, this is a priority for our workplace. It's a priority for me. And I want our team to feel as though they don't need to sneak around to Shar knows, her best is often a mid-morning workout or a 3 p.m. walk. And I don't want her to feel like that's a thing she needs to hide.
Sometimes we'll walk and talk.
We do
that a lot.
Walking meetings are amazing. If it's not something where you have to be sharing your screen, it's so great to just catch up on things going on. Yeah.
The worst is when I'll realize, I distinctly remember one time we were on a meeting walk, and I was just walking, then all of a sudden I was like, I am so far from my house.
She was. She was dark. She sent me a picture. I'm like, are you in a different town?
Yeah. Do you need a ride?
I was like, I don't know. I ended up in downtown Fayetteville. I don't know.
So great.
That's hilarious. And I'm sure it's great for the people who work at Soapbox and influencers who might follow you personally, too, to see you living and breathing that on social media, too, of, you know what, I took Friday off and we did a three-day weekend, or we went hiking, we went to the mountains, we did whatever. Yeah. And for you to be living that, it probably empowers them to say, you know what, I have vacation left, or I'm going to do this because I need it, or I'm not taking a vacation, but I'm going to take the day and just reset so I can hit it harder and better come Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. So what does that look like for you? We're really curious about, we always call it the modern workplace, right? And how companies set their people up for success, or how maybe the employees just take what they need to be good to themselves. So what does that look like? Are there non-negotiables or priorities for you in your work life?
Yeah, for me, I am not joining anything before 8:30 in the morning. And
sounds like that.
We're a global company, and sometimes that's not great for people, but 8:30 for me is the earliest I can do it without feeling like I rushed my kids out the door or I asked my husband to sacrifice his start to his workday and put him in a difficult situation. My calendar is flexible enough that I can say 8:30 is my start time.
Right.
And if you need something that's absolutely urgent, and I hate using this term, but quote, mission critical, unquote.
Right.
I can make an exception, but it will not be the rule that I am available before then, because daycare opens at a certain time.
Clear.
Yeah, I need coffee and I'm going to be a much nicer person
Yes.
if it's
Amen.
after 8:30, and you will like dealing with me much
Yes,
more.
exactly.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sweet.
And then for me, if I don't work out at least twice a week, and I use workout lightly because it's often like a bar class or yoga, which is just a different kind of workout, just stretching
Still
and moving my
workout.
body,
It is.
I'll get to Saturday and realize that I just feel not great.
I think we all just made the face of like,
We
ugh.
did. That you feel it.
Yeah.
You're tense and you've been
everywhere.
sitting and your hips are
Yes.
tight and you feel the pressure of your week just on you. So
Yes.
those are my two big things. And a personal goal of mine right now in the wellness space is not just drinking wine and coffee, but please work some water in somewhere. I have tried so many tips for myself, and everyone's like, just fill up a big jug and put it by you. I'm like, yep, I get to
No.
5 o'clock and it's still full.
Yes.
So
there it is. I did.
I'm looking actively for tips on
Oh,
getting
yeah.
myself to drink more water.
Yeah.
Mm.
I might have a tiny one. We'll see.
Yeah.
When we come back
Yeah.
around to some
Like,
of our
Yeah.
shares.
A water bottle you actually like.
I am just a huge water drinker. That is one. But I am, as you know, Sarah, I'm pretty much wine to coffee.
Yeah, I was like,
and
this
back and
is
forth.
literally me.
Yeah, it impacts so many parts of your body. And as
Yeah.
much as I care about skincare and all of this, you would think I would really drink a ton of
Yes.
water.
Yes.
And my dermatologist was like, yeah, just make sure you're hydrating. And I'm like, I am.
No, I am.
It's
for
like when you
sure.
go to the dentist, they're
Check.
like, are you flossing? You're like, yo, yeah.
3 times a
Oh,
day
yeah.
sometimes.
Just right
Yeah,
before I
big
came, but
Exactly.
That's so great. Okay, so I want to know who influences you. Who do you follow? Who do you enjoy keeping up with across platforms?
Sure. So on TikTok, the account that I find myself actively searching out
Okay.
is an influencer named Kat Stickler.
Okay.
And her handle is Mike and Kat. It's she and her husband share just the ups and downs of their days. They work with different companies to talk about products, so they do some influencing, but it's largely comedy and reenacting how her husband acts throughout the day. And sometimes I just need it
They are so
for a
good.
laugh and to remind myself that other people have husbands who do things that annoy the ever living life out of them, but that they love dearly,
Yes.
yes.
which is it's just a lot. And then a platform that I follow that really does a great job of highlighting just a ton of women that I find super influential is Girl Boss, and they're on Instagram and TikTok.
Yep.
They have amazing content. And then in the Instagram space, Ashley Robertson is an influencer in Dallas who used to work outside the home as a teacher, and she now is fully into just lifestyle content, which has a lot of value for me because she talks about wellness and making your home a space for you that you can really thrive in without pushing anything on you, which I think is great. So those are 3 sources that I find myself actively seeking out, and if they haven't posted that day, I almost feel like excuse me,
Hi.
where is my tip
Need you.
People are
for the day?
waiting.
And then in January, I've been following Emily Lay
Yes.
for just this.
Always great in January.
Yes. Yes. The rest of the year, I'm kind of like, okay, keep your
Okay,
tips.
see ya. Yeah.
Yeah, but she has kind of just this really doable tip of the day for just getting yourself off to a fresh start. But she does have great tips throughout the entire year of just if you're feeling overwhelmed, how can we simplify?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not a minimalist at all, but I do think that they have some great ideas I
They
can
do
deal with in
the
pieces.
Simplified
Yeah.
planner, right?
Yes.
Emily Lay. Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
the simplified planner.
Yes. I love that.
That's funny.
Char, do you have anyone?
I feel like I do because and it's killing me. As you were saying that, there's one of my coworkers, Kelsey, just told me about it because she knows that I love like completing tasks, but I kind of get overwhelmed by how many there are. And she was like, oh, let me show you this Instagram. It's actually just 1 task a day just to make and I'm talking home things, maybe work too. I don't know.
Right.
But I can't think of what it is. And so I feel like for right now, I'm just going to say I just am so inspired always by Morgan Harper Nichols. Like her
Yes.
quotes, like I just feel like I don't speak it enough that she just like speaks so well. And just with everything going on in the world, every time she posts something, I'm like, yes, you just said that so beautifully in the way that I was thinking. And like, I'm like, are you in my brain? But and then
the way she shares her
yes,
content
that's what I
is
was
so
gonna
beautiful,
say.
too.
Just
It's like these
creatively,
gorgeous, like
I love
watercolor designs.
Yeah.
and
she
everything.
just really carries herself so well as a brand she has created. So
It's a good one.
yeah, and just creatively, I'm inspired by her too. So
So
I'd say
good.
that one. What about you?
Okay, well, I don't know.
You can say I influence you. It's fine.
Okay, it's actually Charban, at Charban. So
That's it. Simple.
actually, that sounds really funny, but I think lately I get the most enjoyment out of some of the groups that I'm in on Instagram, like even just our work group. And I have a group of girlfriends, and just the memes we're shooting back and forth. It's like this. I look forward to hitting Instagram and then going over to messages to see our groups like kind of thread.
I can like hear your cackle right now.
I know. Like it's actually quite comical. I think you heard as we were recording before you came in, Sarah, because I am just known for constantly cackling alone in my office,
Okay,
cackling
but
with others.
I wouldn't call it a cackle because cackle to me is like
Evil.
it's like
True.
witch-like. And I just think that you really just have a truly infectious, like boisterous
Right?
laugh
Oh,
that
gosh.
it just makes me. I was telling Char
Smile.
before that I felt pressure to be funny now because your laugh is so contagious that I'm like, well, I want to make her laugh like that because I love
Keep
it.
going, Sarah. Keep going.
Really
keep going.
not hard. Like
True.
shakes the building. So actually, this is kind of a funny thing in terms of who influences us, because sometimes people answer that with not a person they follow, but like they'll talk about their spouse or their parent. And I've been having this thought lately about my grandmother, who passed away years ago, that she was this like gregarious, like enthusiastic, like in her 80s, up on the roof, like doing things. We're like, grandmother, can you get down and not clean the gutters yourself? But she was so tickled at life and so tickled at herself constantly. She was constantly laughing at herself. And I always admired that in her. And recently I've been like, I think that's me. Like, I think I effectively
get
have
that off the
become
roof.
it because I just laugh at myself all the time. And that felt like a win. Do you know
That's
what
amazing.
I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that felt like,
someone you
okay.
admire, you're like,
I'm like,
There's little bits of
okay,
me,
yeah.
yeah.
And
No.
she's influenced me for all these years. So
I love that so much. And actually, if I ever do something that makes me think I am turning into my mother
yes.
or I'm turning into my grandmother, there's a
Yes.
part of me that
It's like a
cringes a
little
little.
proud,
But then,
though.
yes, there's the part that's proud. I'm like,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
they did
Well,
all right.
If
So
your kids do that, they're gonna be like, "Yeah, it's my
That's
funny mom on
huge.
TikTok."
I know, exactly.
I'm already just thinking of my two boys when they're teenagers finding this content one day online. I'm probably some like archive of millennials who thought they were technologically advanced and being like, Mom, if you tell
Are you
anyone this happened,
serious?
I will delete your home, whatever the tech is at that time. They're like, I'll delete it.
Yeah,
Delete
you're
it.
canceled.
Yeah.
I love that.
It'll be
That's
our
so
version
true.
of turning off the Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. They'll cut us off in the nursing home.
They will. They will.
Turning off your Wi-Fi, Mom. Okay, so our last couple of questions, which are my favorite, can be a little interchangeable, but the first is, what are you consuming? Meaning a podcast or a show you're binging or a book you're reading or an audiobook you're listening to, no pressure. And then the other is just what are you so into, which typically is, more of an object or a thing or something that's just making your life better. So we'll start with you on this one, Sarah. What are you consuming?
Sure. So what I'm consuming right now is I am listening to a book on Audible called The Whole Brain Child. I am a very emotive person. I feel my feelings in a big way. And I'm learning that my oldest son does as well,
Okay.
which sometimes is not great when I'm feeling big feelings and he's feeling big feelings. My husband is cool, collected, calm as a cucumber over there, and I am having a mental breakdown about seemingly nothing, and so is my son. So I found this amazing doctor that's written this book and has a podcast and all this information about dealing with big feelings with children and understanding the neurological makeup of the mind,
That's
which
so interesting.
it's fascinating, and it has implications for me as an adult now at work. I deal with ADHD, and it talks a lot about how the brain is actually structured. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, my child's brain is just not formed yet in that space. And mine is formed, but I have differences than other people. And that's why I'm always frustrated all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm fascinated. I've been listening to a chapter a night just to
I love that.
unlock more. and let myself hear it for longer. And then, do you want me to go ahead and touch on the? Okay, so
keep going. Too good.
What I'm is it what I'm obsessed with, or what I'm into?
Yeah.
What I'm so into right now is a brand called Way, and it's OUAI.
Oh, I'm with you.
Yep.
Yes, so they make hair care products. Is how I first discovered them. But I was given this tub of Way Chill Pill bath bombs.
Ooh.
They are so cute. They come in the form. They look like a pill. Yes, they're amazing. They look like a pill that you kind
break
of
open.
Yes, you break it open and you drop it into the tub, and it's fizzy, and it has like hemp and jojoba oil and all these things, and it's the most luxurious 10 minutes.
You have influenced me.
It's so amazing.
Yeah, that's good. That is good.
It smells a little like the hair care, which is amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. So I'm curious, going back real quick, the ADHD. Have you always known that, or are you more of an adult diagnosis?
I was diagnosed in middle school.
Okay.
My brother was diagnosed much earlier, but a fun fact, not so fun fact, is women are severely underdiagnosed with ADHD because the hyperactive presents in a different way.
Okay.
And not to, speak as a doctor, but my brother had the jittery, couldn't sit still in class, where mine was more hyperactivity of the mind. Squirrel all over the place, which does really well for marketing and putting yourself out there and exploring different things.
Right.
Not so well for needing to focus on a sustained amount of varying things. I kind of go into like, well, that's not what you said we were doing, and I'm over here, and I'm over here, and now you're changing this on me. So as an adult, though, it's been interesting to just understand how it's something that you'll deal with as you work too. It's not just something that impacts your learning in school.
Right.
And it's present in every part of me, and in relationships and work and social media and the things I engage with in my house. It's so it's been interesting, and I actually find it fascinating to learn more about, knowing that I experience it myself.
We have an influencer in our community who is kind of navigating a recent adult diagnosis of ADHD, and she's been very, the way she shared it has been really interesting to me. And to your point, you want to learn to navigate it and to be self-aware, and do you know your Enneagram?
Yes.
Yeah,
okay, what is it?
What's interesting is I have a friend who's an Enneagram coach.
Okay.
And she was convinced I was not my Enneagram type. And then we did a session, and she said, okay, you were right.
Oh.
So I am an Enneagram 7.
I'm not surprised. I knew it.
Welcome.
She tried to tell me I was a 4, and I was
because of the big feelings.
Yes, because of the big feelings and the individuality of some of the things I do.
Yes.
But I'm a 7. I'm not one to travel all over the place and always want to be on a trip. Right. But mentally, I am departing from any potentially negative situation. I am gone. You can leave a message for me to look at later when I can cry about it and you not see me. But I'm an Enneagram 7 through and through.
So funny. I was picking up those vibes, but you also are, you're very calm.
Yes.
I think you have a lot of, you self-navigate very well. So it's like, I feel like she's got that 7 energy. So
I think that's part of the adaptability, though, of the 7 is, okay, you can do that in some places, but in some places, you got to temper it just
We're
a bit.
chameleons a bit, right?
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I can present as far more calm than I probably am in my head.
Which I think is great for the space that we all work in a bit, is how do we show up in a board meeting versus how do we show up for someone on social media versus the mom or the spouse or the friend.
Right. Yeah. Love that.
I can wear 57 hats in a day.
Come at me.
Amen.
I know. I'm a 9, very much so, but I get that I'm a 7 a lot because I'm so extroverted.
Yes.
And so people are always like, what? Really?
Yes.
I'm like, no.
She does really well. She's surrounded by a couple of 7s all day, flanked by us. And
I just form into you guys.
Which is hilarious because as a 7, I'm often assumed to be an extrovert, where I think I have extroverted tendencies, but I really need, as an introvert, that time to recharge alone and read or listen to something, or else I'm so overwhelmed. So I think it's funny how
I know
exactly. It's the Enneagram is
can't be put in a box.
Fascinating, yes.
I love it.
We had a guest last week, 2 weeks ago, who is really interesting. You may have heard her at Megaphone Summit, Sarah Jane Case. So
Yes.
she is Enneagram and Coffee, and she's written a book called The Honest Enneagram. And
Every single post she shares,
she's phenomenal.
like, stop spying on me.
Yes. Stop.
I'm in this photo and I don't like it.
I know,
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh,
yeah, she's amazing. Her episode, actually, I think is up already, but fascinating to
I'll
your
have
point.
to go listen.
So yeah,
So
you
exciting.
will. You will. Okay, Shar, what are you consuming and what are you so into?
Okay, so Beth knows this. I am obsessed with records. I love them.
Ooh.
I got a record player like years ago, but it's kind of dying or died basically. And I was very sad and I had no idea, but I just kept playing records on them and I was like, it's fine. It just kind of sounds awful. But my boyfriend's, like, for Christmas gave me this incredibly nice, like, Crossley record player, speakers set up, and I'm like, did you do this for yourself?
He's really into her.
Yeah. I'm like, that's what I'm trying to go with. So I'm consuming that.
You're going to keep him.
No, but I just love it so much. We're always saying, like, what are you listening to while cooking?
We are.
I love it. And so while cooking is key. And so I love building my record collection. I'm just like doing that, and it's been so fun. I just got these ones. Drew Holcomb and his wife Ellie Holcomb. They during quarantine actually did these things called like kitchen covers, and they were just covering songs in their kitchen. So and they kind of went viral with it, and they ended up putting them on records. And I was like, I'm gonna get those so that I remember that was in 2020 whenever I was, scrolling
it's like
through.
Your souvenir from the trips you didn't take in 2020.
Yeah.
How cool is
But
that?
I even did that.
Have you been to the record room at Lake Street House yet?
And it's so happy, the sound. I'm trying to turn my house into that,
There you go.
So the sound, no, I'm not.
Great inspiration.
Yeah, but I would say that's
what you're devouring.
Obsessed with, or devouring.
Yeah.
Obsessed with, I would say, I recently I love working out, but a lot of like strength training, even though I love it, I have a very bad hip. I blame high school cheerleading for it.
I feel you.
I'm like, almost had to get a hip replacement at age 18. And I'm like,
my word.
So it's still, 10 years later, it's still hurting me. And I have fallen in love with, my gym has reformer Pilates machines. And it is just, I'm not a morning person, but that is the one thing I will get up for in the morning. Because it just, like, it calms me, it relaxes me, it's strengthening me, lengthening me, as we hopefully want.
You were taller.
Yeah, yes, yeah. I was sitting up straight.
That's true.
But yes, I think that's just been so helpful for me of just, like, okay, this is a workout I like and enjoy and just, like, relaxes me too. Like, I'm rejuvenated after. And then I put on a record.
Yeah, I love it.
Woo, goes hand in hand.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. What about you, Beth?
Okay, so I used up all my books on our last couple of episodes, and I'm still reading the same books, so I can't really speak to that. So for me, I'm devouring, it's a website essentially called Well and Good. If you're not familiar, it's amazing. And the content is it's skincare, it's wellness, it's just wonderful. I just really enjoy it, and there's a lot of fresh content kind of constantly. So that's what I'm consuming right now, besides the books that I'm still reading. And then my so into is kind of based on one of the books I'm reading, Bella Figura. So I've started a shot of olive oil and lemon water every morning, separate shot of olive oil. Lemon water.
And lemon water.
Starting the shots early.
Yeah, I know. Well, I got
I'm fascinated. What is the olive oil?
So the olive oil is all of these good fats, and in the Mediterranean diet, it's really so skin, like plumpness, and just digesting.
Digestion. Mental notes over here. You're looking very glowy.
Well, let's just call it the olive oil. But yeah, I think I just read a lot. I heard a bit in this Bella Figura book that I talked about on the last episode, and it's like, you know what, I'm going to try this. And it just feels like a very good and healthy habit that is theoretically tied to a lot of longevity and heart health and just wellness in general. And I've been on the lemon water thing for about a year.
Lemon water in the morning.
Yeah, so that's kind of a thing that after I work out, because I have become an early bird. I don't know what the deal is, but I'm up at the crack of dawn and I work out, and then I do my olive oil and my lemon water, and I just
give me your tips.
Feel proud of myself. Here's my tip: your kids have to age.
That's a good
I'm really afraid that's
little
what it is.
kids.
Yeah.
And mine, I always joke that they're raised because they know how to make a PB&J and they dress themselves. So like my work here is done and I can
That's
focus
the
on
goal.
me.
That is the goal.
So yeah.
I know mine are over here like, I need a
Up in
cup.
your
I need
business,
this.
yes.
Why are you doing that? Where
Yes.
are you? Where is Daddy? Why is it you and
That's
not
terrible.
Daddy?
Yes.
You're giving me hope
Yeah,
that
there's
one
a-
day too
to
I can
survive.
focus
There
on
is a
exercise and
light.
olive oil.
Yes. And
Right
lots
now
of wine.
I know. Right now I'm lucky if I get out the door with the backpack and the papers I was supposed to have that day. I feel like
Amen.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
taking care of me.
Yes.
My son will pull into the parking lot and he said, "Did you get my book for my backpack?" And I'm like,
No.
"I will be right back."
Yes.
I will be back in
Attend to
10
that.
minutes.
I love
Oh my
it.
gosh, so true.
But that's real, and that's what you have done
Yeah.
with TikTok, is making it
Yes.
real and just like day-to-day life, and
Yes.
like,
Yeah,
and it's okay for life to not just be, you know, rainbows and butterflies and
Yes.
glamour and
Yes.
glitz.
I got sick of seeing the Instagram accounts where there are some that I do go to for aesthetically pleasing
Mhm.
grids. If I want to go watch people bake and frost cakes and show me their beautiful homes, that's what I'm going for.
Sure.
Yeah.
But if I was getting on to just find someone I could relate to, and I was seeing about the mom who had the perfect day at work and nailed the presentation, and her kids came home with a sticker on their sticker chart, and they had dinner prepared by 6:30, and their kids were ready for bed, I was feeling like a
Yes.
complete failure, to be honest. And I'm just so glad that I've found this community where other people are
Yeah.
saying, "Me too," and
Same.
also, let me tell you what else happened
I
today.
know.
Because
Yeah.
people
lot
are
of
just
fun.
keeping it real. It is.
I love what you're doing, and I think the fact that it's resonated and grown so quickly the way it has now that you have come out of the TikTok closet, like it's really neat and refreshing. So it's fun to watch you thrive, my friend.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you quickly how I came out of the closet in
Okay,
case
tell
anyone
us.
wants to
Woo,
know.
let's hear it.
The
do.
TikTok closet. A major news outlet wrote an article highlighting one of my TikToks as starting a trend among millennials,
Mm-hmm.
and my boss saw the article. And instead of saying anything
Stop.
to me about it, just sent the link in a group text to everyone in marketing in our organization and said, in case anyone didn't know, Sarah is an influencer on TikTok. And I was like, well, I guess it's out now and I don't have to worry about anyone from work, so I'll just tell everyone in my personal
Honestly,
life about it
rip
too.
the Band-Aid off.
He did.
That's what you
I'm
needed.
actually so grateful for him now for doing that, because I texted him just an emoji and said, really? And he said, so let me get this straight. You don't care that nearly 100,000 people see your videos every day, but you're nervous about the 9 of us? And it was kind of a gut check to me
That's
of,
great.
that's a great
Wow.
point, and it's what my husband and what my friends have been saying.
Everyone was saying.
But to hear it from someone whose opinion I valued in a different way,
Right.
say, why would you not be shouting this from the rooftops?
Yeah.
I was kind of like, okay,
What a great
this is
story.
my sign. Yeah.
Like I knew it was kind of a thing, and
Right.
you know
Yeah.
that you got some coverage and all of that, but I didn't realize that is fantastic.
And that's showing like it's okay to integrate personal into work life.
it's okay. Yeah,
It is. Yeah. And I
Like
think
you just brought in all the things that we
Yes.
want to talk about on
Brought it
social
home.
proof.
I love it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
I'm so glad.
I know. Well, thank you so much for
Yeah.
joining us. It's been a blast.
Thank you for having me. This was amazing.
course.
Absolutely.
I
We have
love
nothing
chatting
left,
with you.
but we'll cheers
Yes.
you anyway.
Oh man, you guys beat me. Oh man, I must have been talking too much.
Cheers,
Cheers.
Sarah.
We're just efficient. Cheers. Thank you.